First, the Mental Health Awareness Week, we'll be wearing the ribbon on the helmets. I want to remind people of that. And then also the 10K day in Stegman. I guess that's Friday night for our volleyball team. It's really important. We try to turn out and get that thing, get those numbers up there as high as we can. And I know you guys want to know about Colbie and want to ask about it, but it's a pending legal matter, and I don't have any answers right now and have not even had a chance to talk to him yet. So I can't answer any questions about it right now. But with that, I'll open it up for you guys' questions.
Coach, it's not a question specifically about COVID. I was wondering because you have said before some of the driving incidents you have, the kids had bringing speakers and that kind of thing to, kind of help them through that for situations like what he's
dealing with.
You have the same thing for that too.
Yeah, I mean, we educate, we bring in speakers. It's one of probably the most critical things we do. And, over the history of 9 years being here, it's probably the most spoke-on thing we have. We have people come over and speak from EOO on campus every year. And Doris does a great job of finding speakers, but then we bring in outside speakers. We call NFL teams, and Miss Mack from Atlanta does a great job. She comes over and shares with our student athletes and talks to them, and even does some role play of putting guys into situations. And, I'll be honest with you, in my years of coaching, it's probably been the hardest thing to deal with when you deal with players and some of the decisions. And I don't mean this in Colbie's, because I don't know the details of that. I don't know everything involved in that, but it's a very sensitive matter and tough thing to deal with, and it's unfortunate.
Sorry. You said that you haven't talked to Colbie yet?
Correct.
So he's not practicing yet. Is there a chance he will this week, and is there a chance he'll play?
Again, I don't. It's a pending legal matter, so you know what I mean. He's not with us right now. He's not with us today. I haven't had a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, Coach. With how many different offenses are playing with fast pace, similar to Mississippi State? I know this sounds weird, but do you guys ever get comfortable with it? Do you ever get used to seeing an offense that plays with that much pace?
I don't know. I don't know if you can get comfortable with it. I'll be honest with you. It's hard. It's hard to simulate. Coming off the practice field. And they do a tremendous job of going nuclear fast, like number one in the country fast, like ahead of Tennessee fast. But they don't have to. Like, they can do that. But then if they want to try to help their defense, they can slow it down. But the unfortunate thing is once they've shown they can go at that pace, what do you have to prepare for? You got to prepare for that. And it takes a lot of the focus off your fundamentals because – you expend a lot of energy just trying to get lined up. I don't think people actually know how difficult these teams are to prepare for because it's what they do. It's not what you do. So it's a little bit like triple option, right? Like the greatest equalizer is when you play a triple option team and you can't prepare for it. Now, they're not triple option. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's hard to prepare for because we don't see it very often. So it's hard. Yeah, we do, but it's getting more prevalent, because he's in our league. Lane is a little bit of that. He's not, Lane's not quite that complete flavor. And then there's Tennessee, which we drew all three of these guys, and they all come somewhat from the same family tree. I think Levy was with Lane, and then he has a little bit of flavor of Heupel. So we have to practice it every year, every off season, and it's a pain. It's a pain to do it.
Coach, I know with freshman running backs, we ask you all the time about pass pro and that kind of thing. That's how it's one of the more difficult things for him to pick up. In regards to Nate Frazier, how is that part of his game progressing to this point?
It's getting better. Like the first thing I found on freshmen is, do they have the courage? Okay, he has the courage. Some of them don't have the courage. Does he have the strength? He's got the strength. Like he can lift the weights, and you got to. You got a 225-pound linebacker. You got to be physical. The guy's coming full speed at you, and you're standing still. Like he checks that box. And then is he smart enough? Can he pick it up and know mentally what to get with the pace of it? He gets a lot of looks from us. And he's not been perfect at that, and he's had some issues with that. And we got a quarterback that we feel like is really important to protect. And Nate takes a lot of pride in his performance, and he wants to do it right. So we give him a lot of opportunities to get better at that in practice, and he's taken a lot of ownership in that.
Yeah, Kirby, Jared Wilson, Kristen Miller, Jordan Hall. What have they been able to do this week at practice?
Yeah, does that thing come out tonight? Is it tomorrow? I couldn't remember what day it was. Today's Tuesday, right? It comes out Wednesday. I was going to say it'll be out here shortly. Christian's been able to practice. Jared's better than he was, but not taking full load reps. He's taking some reps, but not. He's taking more than he was last week, but not full load. And Christian is taking reps. I don't know who's the other one.
Jordan.
Jordan's trying to get out there and go. Man, he's pushing so hard. I hate it for that kid because he's had 2 rods. I mean, a rod put in both legs, and he's out there frustrated. He's doing more than he did last week, but I don't know that I can say he's ready to play this week.
This afternoon, the D1 committee shortened the portal window to December 9th to 28th. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd heard that was a possibility. What was it before? 30 days maybe?
Well, so, yeah.
45?
30 total for spring and.
They shrunk the December window, right? And it starts after our signing date, which was the purpose of moving signing date up. They wanted you to be able to sign your class, and they wanted to shrink the window there some. I think it's going to be really weird because you got this playoff thing going on. So, like, you know, there's some people that feel like in the midst of a playoff, you're going to have guys that are maybe frustrated or unhappy on a team that's on a playoff run, and they're going to be checking out. So, but that has nothing to do with them shortening it because, I mean, that was going to happen inevitably anyway. So my thoughts on it is, you know, whatever the fair amount of time is for a kid to go look around and see what he wants to do, then I'm comfortable with that. I don't know what that right amount is because, you know, we don't have we're not a huge portal team, so we don't like use that a lot. Usually the teams that are doing it are the teams that aren't playing, and the teams that are playing, they really got a hard time trying to shop in the portal and prepare for things. But times they are changing, I can promise you that. There's a lot of unknown for us moving in the future with the NCAA stuff coming down the pipe and even the portal stuff. Like we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, Kirby, you've talked in the past about Malachi Starks working at safety and working at starters. What have you seen from him in that regard this fall, and especially maybe playing it in games more than he has in the past, it seems like?
Yeah, I don't know that in the past he could do it like as comfortably as he's doing it now. He's now rotating at star, playing snaps at star, getting practice reps at star, and Joe Nell I think is doing a great job. But you got to have 2 stars to play in every game, and we feel like he gives us the best chance to pop in there and play star. He's such a good man-to-man cover guy, and I mean he's good to play safety, but he's good to move in at star because he gives us a different matchup guy. So he's handled it mentally very easily, and it's given us a little more flexibility there.
Coach, I'm curious, you know, when you move, they say like in basketball, when you move from the second seat to the first seat, you're dealing with a lot of stuff. And obviously you've had to deal with these off-field things over a 9-year period now. I'm curious about what that looks like for you. You know, you get awakened in the middle of the night and you're having to deal with it, and just the kind of emotional side for not having much control, but having to be in control.
Yeah, it's not envious, but I think I spoke 2 years ago about the cost of leadership, and I read that each day I come into work, and it's right behind my desk, and I never forget what somebody sent me, and it just hits me on days like that. I mean, I didn't find out on this one until I got up in the morning, so it's one of those 7 a.m. deals, but I've had the ones that hit in the middle of the night, and you know that's when you have 130 17 to 23-year-olds, that's, you know, you're going to have issues. It's not going to be perfect. And I certainly recognize we got to do a better job. But it's hard. It's hard on our staff because we got really good kids. We got really good people, man. And our kids go out there today and they have one of the best practices we've had all year on a Tuesday. And they're out there competing, working. And, you know, you just want them to make better decisions as men off the field. And, you know, I take a lot of responsibility in that. And it's tough. But that's the cost of leadership. Like, you're going to be judged and by the people you lead. And you got to stand up, face it, and do right by the kids and keep trying to find a better way. I mean, we're constantly trying to find a better way to make a difference, and that's in everything we do in our organization. That's evaluation of the kids. That's in the football side of it, the becoming a man, the graduation. It's all wrapped into one. and we got to keep working on that.
Yeah, when it comes to the transfer portal, because of the nature of how quick it comes together at the end of the season and the fact that you guys operate more out of need there, is it harder to get a sort of full picture or a full background on some of the guys that you are recruiting from the transfer portal?
You could probably say that, but when we go to take somebody out of the transfer portal, I can't say I've known them as long as I've known a recruit, right? I've recruited the kid since his junior year, senior year, but then all of a sudden in recruiting, we'll take a kid the last month that we think's a good player, and we do a background check, we check on him, do everything. The portal, most of the time for us, you're relying on better information because you're calling the school he was at. So like all of us know somebody, right? So we call somebody at school X and we say, hey, what's the, and most of the time they give you the forthright truth, hey, didn't go to class, or he was this, or he was that. Oh, he's a great kid, he just didn't fit here. And people call us about our guys, and I'm very honest about that. So I actually feel more comfortable over a portal kid because I'm getting real-time information. He's lived outside of his home and been on his own for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years. But I feel like you get better information on those guys than you do sometimes on a high school kid.
Are you talking to your team about Vanderbilt and Arkansas, what they did last week, given that you guys are big favorites this week?
No, we don't. I mean, we don't rely on the motivation of others, and I don't know. I just don't think that's a great way to go about things. We're really focusing on pride and performance this week. And we had a great analogy. Somebody sent me and said, if they were doing a Netflix documentary on you this week, who would you want to watch it? And would they like approve? Would you send it to your parents? Would you send it to an NFL team if they did a Netflix documentary on your performance and your pride and how you practiced this week? And I was shocked. They must have all thought the Netflix documentary was on them today because they practiced as good as they have ever done. So just give them a little attention and they eat it up.
Kirby, aside from health, what do you feel like has been the biggest difference for Tyrion this season, just as he's made a bigger impact?
Ty?
Yeah.
Health, and you said besides health, his work ethic. I mean, he's always been a pretty good football player. He's a great kid. He's been in the dumps because of his foot, and so you'd see him every day, and he had no smile on his face. He's got a beautiful, great mom, and she's been in great communication with us. He had considered the portal at one time, and he talked about his frustrations, but it was really more out of injury than it was anything else. And I remind him every day that he's out there working because sometimes he needs a little motivation to work. And I'm like, you could be over there riding that bike. You could be over there, lifting and not practicing. And he gets a little more juice and practices a little harder. And he sometimes woe is me, but he's a great kid. And I enjoy coaching him. And he's played really good football this year, I think, because he had a great camp. And he had really good camp practices, and it's helped him to play better.
Kirby, we'll get a chance to talk to Lawson in a few minutes. What do you feel like he's brought to this offense in his sophomore year?
He has a little nastiness to him. He's a little bit of one of those guys that he doesn't have the anxiety maybe of others. He's his uncle's played here. He grew up playing football his whole life. He doesn't get all pouty if a coach gets on him. He's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in. He's a little bit of an alpha. I mean, he's not afraid to compete and do things. Now, I still think he can improve on a lot of things, especially inline blocking and some stuff. But he's a competitor, man. And if you throw the ball near him, he's going to try to go get it. So I have a lot of respect for his toughness.
Yeah, with a lot of talk around how do you create a better game day atmosphere and get more fans involved, do you consider doing something like wearing alternate jerseys or the black uniforms?
I don't think it has one thing to do with the fan base. I think that's hokey pokey. I mean, it's great for recruiting, and we may do it sometime. I mean, I'm not anti doing it, but that shouldn't do anything for your atmosphere. Because some of the best places I've played in great atmosphere, they never change their uniform. They're traditionalists, and if it takes changing the uniform to get people fired up, then I'm at the wrong place.
Yeah, to follow up on that fan engagement and that kind of stuff, just knowing how Josh Brooks is and that you said anything Saturday. Has there been a meeting? Has there been a, conferences to discuss, hey, what can we do to sort of alleviate this and address it?
I haven't had a meeting with him. I talked to him about it, and I voiced, my concerns to him as much as I did to anybody. But that's his job. I mean, he's in charge of all those people and those optics, and that's part of the comment I said earlier last time about, we had coaches play here last year that said it was the greatest atmosphere they had ever been in. And so for somebody to say that from outside, it's not like it's all wrong. You know, it's really relative to what time the game is and who the game is. But we can't afford to do that. You know what I mean? Like we can't do that. So I don't have an expectation that nobody else should either. We should all be held to the standard of playing excellent, playing hard. Doesn't matter who your opponent is. It's a nameless and faceless deal. We don't look at the scoreboard. But I haven't had a meeting with Josh or talked to Josh about it other than after the game Saturday.